So Nina Jenkowicz, she's great. She's going to be running the Ministry of Truth for the Biden administration. You shouldn't worry about this, by the way. It's going to be totally fine. We've been told by the media it's all exaggerated. Why would you worry about a disinformation ministry from the Department of Homeland Security run by a crazy theater kid? And that's what this person is. She says one of the big problems when it comes to misinformation is that liberals and minorities are silenced, not conservatives. Oh, that's weird, because it seems like everybody who's been banned on Twitter has been banned basically for the sin of being right-wing and saying things like Leah Thomas is a man. And the Babylon Bee still doesn't have its account reactivated over at Twitter. And Facebook has shut down stories about Hunter Biden. But don't worry, guys. It's really liberals and minorities who are discriminated against on social media, according to our new Ministry of Truth head.
There's already this idea, this allegation that there is anti-conservative bias on the platforms, even though there has been study after study proving, in fact, that often it's liberal voices that are being silenced, particularly minority voices on social media.
Well, if there's studies from people like Nina Jenkowicz, I totally believe them. Meanwhile, I totally believe the purveyors of information in our society, particularly from the White House. So Jen Psaki, who already has had a contract signed basically with MSNBC for a long time, for like a month at this point, and is still the White House press secretary. Because again, there is no gap between the media and the Democratic Party. They are just the same entity. They're an ectoplasmic entity that shares all available genetic material. So here is Jen Psaki explains she holds herself to a high ethical standard, which is weird since she lies all the time.
I know you can't discuss your next job for ethical reasons, but it's been widely reported. You got a lot of criticism over possible conflicts during this period. Did that bother you?
Of course, because I'm a human being. But what I know is what I try to do every day. And I hold myself to a very high ethical standard. I took steps and have taken steps as I've had any discussions with any future employer that go over and above any requirements by government, recusing myself of any discussions as well. And I'm proud of that.
By recusing yourself from any discussion, I noticed that you're still taking questions from people who are going to be employing you at the White House press conferences. I did notice that. So that's solid stuff there from Jen Psaki. The media hold themselves to a really high standard. You know how high the standard is for the media holding themselves to? So there is a woman who is an activist. Okay, she was a CBS reporter on abortion. And she was accused frequently of being a left-wing plant who was really, really wild on abortion. Okay, she then turned out, this former CBS reporter, she went to Planned Parenthood where she became the news content director. She's a former CBS reporter. And she said that they had standards at CBS to prevent her bias from getting into what she was covering. So just to get this straight, here is a quote unquote objective news reporter on abortion this is like saying that you have a guns reporter over at the New York Times who then immediately goes and works for the NRA as a spokesperson for the NRA. You might wonder about their objective news bona fides. She says, don't worry. Our objective news organizational skills at CBS, they just kind of filtered out my pro-abortion bias. Oh, really? Is that what happened over there? When you hire activists as journalists and then you pretend that your journalism is objective journalism, everyone knows you're lying. And so much of our journalistic establishment is this now. And right now, they're actually really, really mad, the journalists. The journalismers, they're very upset. One of the reasons they're very upset is not just because Roe versus Wade looks like it's going to be overturned, but because they've been unable so far to pressure major corporations into doing their bidding. Largely because the right finally has started pushing back on corporations and saying, if you do this, we'll clock you the other way. And if they smack you open hand, we will backhand you back into place. And the left at corporations, these corporate heads have basically been able to say, we're not going to do this anymore. The left and these journal activists, they're running scared on all of this. But it just demonstrates, again, as always, Democrats and the media, they are part of one complex. There is no difference between the two of them. And the smooth transition for people like Jen Psaki or like the CBS News reporter is demonstrative of just how symbiotic that relationship truly is. I hope you enjoyed that clip from The Ben Shapiro Show. If you did, go ahead and hit that subscribe button so you stay up to date with all our future content.